Good evening. My name is Elizabeth R. and I am the Audacious Coach. And in today's live, we are going to be joined by a very special lady, Zama Khanyile, and we're going to be discussing a lot around her work, how audacious she's been in navigating her career. I'm actually so excited about it. She'll be joining us in a bit. It should be awesome. Hi, Gibson. Welcome. I see you early. Hi, Zama. Hope you're good. Hope you're right. You can give me a thumbs up or just type in the comment section just to let me know how you're doing. How's your Monday going? Is everything all right? I'm just waiting for our guest who will be joining us at 7. And then we'll be able to start with our interview. I'm excited. It's going to be great. She's quite a phenomenal woman. She's done quite a lot. Apart from being a founder and a CA and so many things. But yeah, if you are looking into starting a business, if you already own a business, and if you're looking into, learning and growing in that sphere, then this live is just for you. It's for exactly just that. So I think while we're waiting for her to join, just to give you a bit of insight on who she is and what she does, I can just read through her bio quickly. It's quite a lot because she's done quite a lot. But I can do that quickly and just so that you can have an idea. Sure. The weather's also been quite crazy. Like, it's been raining the whole day. I thought we were going to be having a very nice, warm week, but especially following after, Easter. But Zama Khanyile, she is a seasoned investment executive with over 20 years of experience, including 16 years in private markets. And she also has a proven record of success spanning over 11 years as the unit head and a divisional executive. She has extensive experience in strategy development, policy development, operational planning, fundraising, business development, deal making, as well as deep understanding of portfolio management, people management, and risk management. Okay, I see she's already joined our live. Hi Zama, welcome. You can just click on the little, so at the bottom of your screen where it says comment, there is a camera with a plus sign. If you click on it and request to join, then you'll be able to join me, and your camera will also be on as well. Then we can have a proper conversation. I was just reading your profile and just letting our guests know about, the work that you've done so that they can have a better understanding of who you are and what we're discussing today. So I will go ahead and accept, and then we can start. There we go.
Hi, Elizabeth. Can you hear me?
It's pushing you all the way out now.
Okay.
Will you join? I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks. Let me just adjust this so that you can see my face and I'm not cut off.
Yeah, you look absolutely gorgeous, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That is so sweet of you. I'm just going to increase the volume on my end.
Okay, perfect.
There we
Can
go.
you hear me? Are you
Fantastic.
comfortable?
Yes, loud and clear now.
Okay,
Loud and
perfect.
clear.
Awesome. I have already read through a portion of your bio just before you joined us. I don't know if there's anything on your side that you'd like to add, just as a little, introduction on who you are, the woman outside of being a businesswoman, because there's more to
Okay.
you than just being a businesswoman. You are multifaceted.
Yeah. So I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, lucky enough to be a mom to two young boys. So that's, the other part of me that often doesn't make it into these bios, but certainly a big portion of who I am,
Yeah.
what shapes me.
That is absolutely amazing. And yes, unfortunately, that actually doesn't join in, but that's actually the most important part of your life, having your
Yeah,
children, your family. I mean, honestly,
yes,
who can we be without family, right?
exactly, exactly.
I have my laptop here with me, so if I turn sideways, I'm just looking through the questions, but you
Okay,
definitely have all my attention. I think we
no
can dive
problem.
right into it. For our first question, you have spent more than 2 decades asking the question, what capital really is. Now, this is quite a broad and brave question to ask. What capital really is beyond profit, right? I
Mm.
want to know, have you found the answer? And if you have, when was the specific moment when you realized that you want the pursuit of your career to be more than just financial impact, but you would really like to create social impact in our world?
Yeah. So, I mean, the solution is ever evolving. I don't think we can ever get it right because there will be some societal ills or some developmental challenges that we need to address through capital. But it's something that's grown me over time. But if I were to try and trace it back to where it all began, it was when I was studying right before articles and we were learning about reporting. And the buzzword at the time was sustainability. So it was, and they used to call it the triple bottom line. Reporting on profits, but also people and impact on the planet. And so that's something that sparked an interest in me. And I was lucky that I began my career in a development funding institution where I really realized that, financial returns and social returns are not mutually exclusive. In fact, one enables the other. So it was shaped over time, right? So going into my first job in investments, the thing that excited me is, wow, we get to build businesses from scratch. We get to create something out of nothing or words out of a paper, and then buildings erect with factories inside of them, and industries grow. So um, if we can create something out of nothing, certainly then we can shift the dial on other things
Yes.
that matter. So it's something that became embedded in me. I'm a Black woman, and so you also realize, okay, who's sitting on the other side of the table? How often am I sitting across someone like me? And what can be done to make sure that that space evolves over time to be inclusive? So it's been a journey, but yeah, I've realized that the purpose of capital is beyond like performance in terms of financial returns, but it's also transforming economies in whatever sense makes the biggest impact.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love absolutely what you said when you said it's been a journey. Like with
Mm.
everything that we want to do, especially audacious women with big dreams, we want to leave legacies behind, not just for our children, but for the workers that we
Yeah.
employ and all of that. I find that you cannot embark on an entrepreneurship journey and not have a philanthropist heart.
Mm,
It's not
yes,
possible.
I agree. I think the purpose in everything is important. You need to be anchored in a strong why in
Yeah.
what you're doing. I think other leadership coaches or business coaches call it a massive transformative purpose that,
Yeah.
wakes you up in the morning and gives you that vuma to go ahead and get it day after day, even when it gets tough.
And it's quite satisfying knowing that, you know what, whether it's one person, 100 people, 200 people, I have actually made a difference in someone's life, not just
Yes.
that individual in that moment, but even touching on the trajectory of their entire family and in some instances, even their generation, because you could be
Yes.
working with an individual who is a breadwinner, you know?
Yeah.
So you have been quite busy, ma'am. You have moved from auditing at KPMG into deal making, venture capital, and development finance.
Yeah.
What gave you the confidence to keep stepping into bigger rooms and bigger responsibilities? Because
Yeah.
oftentimes I find that women are so capable. Like if you look at their CV, if you look at what they've done, they are so capable. And for whatever reason, we sell ourselves short. Whereas with
Yeah.
men are very quick to just say, listen, I have done this, okay? Put some respect on my name. But when it comes to us women, we are a bit humble. So how did you do it so that, someone who be listening to this live,
Yeah.
they can learn to do the same?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I mean, how was I confident to step into those bigger
Yes.
responsibilities?
Quite audacious,
Confidence is,
so.
yeah, it's, confidence, you develop it over time. So sometimes you must take the first step even when you're not confident. So I think there are a number of things that push me. So from a work career, work and perspective, when I started out and I was doing articles, I was fortunate to be on the audit of one of the biggest industrials in SA. And so the lady who was our auditor in charge was a woman, and she was an Afrikaner woman. And she said, you know what, Zama, if you don't stand up and speak to what it is that you're good at and what it is that you can do, no one else is going to do it. And that was a strong realization for me, because we came from, okay, if I write a test, I'm going to get X amount of marks. If I do a project, I'm going to get X out, and therefore people will know that I can do the job. But in the workspace, I mean, it's given that you have some sort of technical grounding, right? But how do people know the extra that you can do? And they will know that through you demonstrating it when given an opportunity, and you I'm speaking to it. And so way before I had kids, I always had the strong resolve that I'd want them to be bold. I'd want them to do their best and go for whatever opportunities. And so I realized that the best way to teach them that is to model it, right? So that they can learn from observation. And they can say, okay, this, my mom pushed through, this was a starting point, this is where she landed up. Surely I can also shift the needle from where I am. And also for other people observing, right? Because there's other people who are capable, they're sitting on their talent, they're scared to put their hand up, and you may not always be ready for it. An opportunity is supposed to have a little bit of stretch in it. I think growth is, by definition, that there's a little bit of stretch. So how do you leverage what you already know and put yourself out there? And you'll either, get the opportunity or you'll learn, but you'll definitely get something out and you'll be a better person for it. So it really came out of, wanting to model what I want other people to do. And I also realized role modeling is sometimes through observation. So how do you show up even when you're nervous? And that's something that we grapple with. So if I lead, if I demonstrate that, I make it easier for other people to step into whatever it is that they are meant to do. But obviously, when you're there, you need to really grind hard and hone in on your skills, and let that be the thing that carries you. So not to go on an extended rant, but one of my mentors that I was assigned when I was younger, and it was just after articles. One is deciding where to go, what to do, and you would observe people that are older than you are shifting from one job to the next, and when they shift, they get a nice massive increase, and the card changes, and you can see signs that life is happening. And she was saying, I know that, and it was something that was spoken about on, it was like a topic of public discourse at the time, is this mobility issue with the youngsters. And she said, I'd hone in on something, that you know and that you'll become an expert in. So if you find your niche, hone in on that, build on that, and then sometimes the opportunity will seek you because people know that if you want something done, then you know so and so is your person. Yeah.
And it speaks so much to your brand. As you're speaking, I'm actually coming to seeing an image of a lighthouse. Like, honestly, if you see yourself as a lighthouse and you keep shining your light, just like you said, the right people will see your light. And as your brand is clear, they'll be able to recognize you for what you do and actually come
Yeah.
to you for the solution that you solve. But another important point
Yeah.
that you touched on, and I really absolutely love it, is
Yes.
you mentioned that difficult times are there. And when you were speaking about, how you role model for your children, one of the things that I absolutely love role modeling for my daughter is I love when she gets to observe me when I'm going through difficult circumstances because I'm conscious of the fact that one day she'll be an adult and then
Yes.
she'll remember this is what mama did and that's the kind of behavior that I would like her, to carry herself in. And you are not one to be shy from hot water. I'm saying that because during the July 2021 unrest, you helped channel more than 1 billion in relief funding to business in crisis. Can I just say, I am calling you. Should I ever be in a crisis with my company? So that must have been an enormous amount of pressure, right? How did you stay calm, decisive, and audacious during such a difficult time? And I'm specifically asking that because as women, we are such emotional creatures. And if you don't have the self control, the maturity, oh boy.
Yeah. But you know, sometimes that's the beauty in us, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes we can touch people that male leaders can't because of that touching feeling element. But I hear you. You know, sometimes you can't allow yourself to be carried by the
Yeah.
emotion, and you have to be calm.
Yeah.
So that was like such an interesting time because it was COVID and it was still lockdown. So some of my colleagues, because of working from home, had dispersed across actually in KZN at the time that the riots happened. So you felt it. It wasn't something that was a foreign concept. I remember my son was, almost a year old or a little over a year old, and he did his nappies. And my cousin was saying, "Hey, you need to go to such and such a store because nappies are running out," and so forth. So that value chain disruption was a thing that we all felt, and we knew that something needs to happen. There will be an end to these few days of unrest. But at the center of it was our resolve, right? Because the damage caused us to go back. And so instead of focusing capital on growth, we were focusing capital on replacement and getting back to where we were, at least, and making sure that we do that in a speedy manner, but with the speed not being irresponsible, because we needed to account for each and every cent of that. And so we needed to improve our systems on the back end so that there's a trusted governance process. When we say we are processing things quicker and our auditors come in and question us, we must be able to demonstrate that. And I think that's how, we won the trust of the Solidarity Fund at the time, who came in to partner up with us on some of the activities. So it was that purpose. I mean, when the riots happened and we were realizing the impact, we're doing surveys. What's the extent of the impact? Can we get a database of all the businesses impacted by all of this? And we went into a think tank with the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition at the time. And we put our heads together and, set aside capital for this, determined this capital can't be normal capital, it has to be concessional because it needs to serve a bigger purpose. But, you know, in this think tank, we're really tasked with how do we build back better? How do we reconstruct the economy in those affected regions? Because if we didn't, livelihoods were impacted. You'd have people sitting at home for extended periods of time. So there's this urgency to bring the businesses back on board, and also incentivize the businesses for bringing back as many people that they had before. So we had to be innovative about how we reward businesses for not using this as an opportunity to cut back on the jobs that were there before the unrest.
Ma'am, like as you're talking, I'm just imagining you. You are being super mom at home with your 1-year-old. You're being superwoman at work because now with this pressure and you have to stay calm, you have to stay strategic. And yes, of course, there's a team of others. You know, it's not like you're doing everything by yourself. But still, you were one of the key players in that role. Do you have I'm going to throw you off a little bit, but I think this is quite important. Do you have a special, unique ritual or practice that you do to just always constantly stay clear-headed and calm when you're in a time of intense pressure? Because I think that is the one skill that as a woman you master it, it becomes so much easier for you to excel in very high demanding jobs.
Yes. So, I mean, you have to just show up in a way that you'd expect a leader or someone that you would trust to show up. Because if you show up very uncertain, then you plant that seed in others. But if you show up confident, even though you may not have all the answers, you start to build confidence in others. But for me, I treasure like those quiet moments where I get to go internal, and I also visualize a lot, right? It's gonna sound corny, but I really got a lot of nuggets of wisdom from the book The Secret. And so it's about imagining yourself already at the place that you wish to be and showing up like that. And so that's something that helps calm me down and know that in the end, actually everything will be okay. Things do seem like a big deal in the moment. However, there are certain life moments that make you realize how those other things actually don't matter. And so for some of us who've traveled a journey of like loss, and you know, when someone is sick and their life is on the line, it really centers you on what matters and what doesn't. And so I think you build some sort of a thicker skin around, okay, what things will throw you off, you'll be impacted by what happens in life. But in the bigger scheme of things, what will count? And I need to show up in a way that I expect, you know, someone leading me to show up. So that's the place that I go into so that I can step into the world, you know, with my head held high, or, you know, be brave in the face of uncertainty.
But you are definitely in good company. I meditate quite a lot. And when I meditate, I find that my mind is so still and I'm literally able to visualize exactly this kind of state I need to be in to be able to solve whatever it is that needs to be solved. So you are definitely in good company. And I absolutely love what you said. We are constantly guided by God, whether it is through people or through, you know, sometimes even your algorithm just being on point on a specific day. You're like, I was just thinking about this, and lo and behold, here is it popping up. So things do work out. All right. So you have worked across finance, policy, climate, governance, and education. Okay, many women feel pressured to stay in one lane. What has helped you trust yourself enough to build such a broad and influential career? And for me personally, this question for me is quite personal because as I'm building my brand, The Audacious Woman, I find that you can't just be audacious in one area. If you're audacious, that's who you are. if you are a visionary, that's who you are. It will reflect in every area of your life. And
Yeah.
oftentimes, you know, sadly, either through lack of confidence or lack of self-worth, you
Yeah.
know, it's so tempting to box yourself in one little corner to say, no, I need to have my niche, I need to specialize. Yes, that's correct. However, it doesn't change the fact that your capacity is broad enough for you to expand yourself in different areas. I don't know if
Yeah.
you still remember my question after all of that.
I do remember. It's how did I find myself involved in so many things in essence?
I'm sorry, I
um,
love explaining. I'm such a teacher.
no, and I think it's a good trait, right? Because it drives the message home. So
Yeah.
I take my own advice in
Mhm.
terms of when given the opportunity to really talk to younger people. I always talk about creating a path that goes that way. So
Yeah.
from making decisions about what to study in high school, what choices will give you the biggest set of opportunities.
Yeah.
Yes, sure, you can't define that quite clearly when you're younger. So in my time, when we used to do schools visits, it was about telling people, well, if you actually can't do pure math, please do it and not do maths
Mm.
literacy, because that'll put you in a much better footing to get other opportunities. But I've also back to meditating and visualizing. So I've
Mm.
and having vision boards. It's almost like starting with the end in mind and
Mm.
then determining, so what does that look like?
Mm.
When I was younger and I was having performance discussions with my uh, then boss when I was in agro processing and at the IDC, and you know they ask you, okay, so what are your big goals? Where do you see yourself in 10 years
Yeah.
time? And at the
Yeah.
time, the National Planning Commission had just released their plans for 2030. This
Yeah.
roadmap, how was SA going to get there? And I thought, okay, I want to be one of those
Yeah.
trusted people, to be, to lend my voice and my knowledge one day. And so how do I then build a knowledge bank on the back of that, so that when the
Mm.
opportunity comes, I'm ready for it. And so
Mm.
I have been lucky in my life, and that luck comes through people. And those
Mm.
people are sponsors, those people that speak for you when you're not there in the room, and when opportunity comes up, they think of you. But also, I've been
Mm.
lucky in that, well, I define luck as preparedness meeting opportunity,
Yes, absolutely.
and not taking any learning opportunity for granted. Because
Mm.
it's like wow, this is how I break it down to myself, that I'm constantly depositing into this knowledge bank. With
Mm.
like if I read an article, if I, attend a talk on AI,
Mm.
or I watch what's happening in Silicon Valley or whatever else, it may not be relevant today. I may not find relevance in my life right now, but there's a time when pulling on that knowledge or even that reference, because I
Yes.
may not have the full story, but I could refer to a
You have
relatable
something to
example in
draw
something
back
that I've learned.
from.
Exactly. So I
Yes.
find those are the things that build up opportunities. And yeah, I want to widen. I'm curious. So I'm fascinated with how things work. And so I ask questions of myself, and I try and learn. But certainly, I cannot discount the role that others have played in my life. And so there's one, I guess, tagline of mine, if I can call it that, that I realized in my life. And when I realized it, I realized, okay, I need to share this with other people. But I referenced earlier on that there's a time when what you studied for matters, it's a given, but it's like the first building block. What
Yes.
else comes after that? And
Yes.
so I realized the importance of like relational capital and
Mm.
building a brand around yourself. And it's a constant effort, right? I don't think you can say I've figured it out, as long as you wake up every day and you're still attuned towards that. So I think, sorry, I want to go back to your purpose, and living your brand, so that the people that you interact with take something away from you. So I say it's not only what you know, right? But it also, that's the beginning. So that's important, and I don't think we can discount that. But it also becomes who you know. So as women, are we networking effectively? Are we leveraging our contacts? Back to my earlier points about, if people don't know about you, maybe you need to tell them about you, not in a pompous way, but in a way that shows the next opportunity that you're looking for, right? Or next opportunity for growth. So it's not what you know, it's sometimes who you know, and then it's who knows you. And what is it that they know about you, and what's their reference point? And that's what's going to determine whether, when an opportunity comes up, they put your name up for it. But I've also been fortunate to be a number of sisterhoods that just developed over time. And so having people mention my name in rooms where I'm not is something that I felt in my life. And most of the time, 90% of the time, it's been other women putting your name forward and thinking this would be a great opportunity for Zama. And then the level of your preparation, sets you up to step into it. But you can then stretch yourself and grow. Sorry for being long-winded.
No. Absolutely agree. That was my timer. So the IG live sessions are 30 minutes. So 30 minutes on the dot, it went off.
Okay, no problem.
But I absolutely love what you said. Relationships are currency. Sometimes you're thinking about currency, thinking, oh, money. But actually we forget that your brand is your currency. Relationships are currency. Your network is your currency. So many things that are like the hidden curriculum are your currency, and those things can go further than your 2 feet can. Absolutely love that. That literally people, from just observing your work on social media, can say, you know what, there's a lady that I've been checking out and she's been doing so well with this. I think we should approach her. Let's work with her. From what we see, her brand aligns so perfectly with our brand, and I think she'll be the perfect candidate. And boom, that's how open doors happen. That's how opportunities happen. I absolutely love that. So before we go, we are a little bit over time, but if you allow me, before we go, what would you say to little Zama? Say 9-year-old Zama, knowing everything that you know now with your life, how things turned out, knowing the possibilities that are available for you for the next 20 years, because you're definitely in a much more better position now than 9-year-old in terms of like where you are, in terms of your potential, in terms of your capacity, in terms of how far you could go. Knowing everything, what would you say to little Zama?
Funny you chose 9 years. I don't know how you did that. Because that was such a pivotal year in my life. That's the year I actually decided I'm going to repeat a certain grade by choice, because I was transitioning from township schools into Model C schools. So I had a bridge year in an Indian school, and they were like, is she ready? Is she not? And I said, you know what, let me repeat this grade before I transitioned. And it was right before 1994. So I don't know, your maths is quite...
It's the meditating, the clarity, the connection.
There's no such thing as a coincidence in life. So what I would... no, not at all. And if I were to speak to that girl, it would be to continue believing in herself. I had so much belief. At that age, the world hasn't really shut you down that much, and so you're still a bit of a big dreamer. So I remember walking to school, to Zandile Primary School in H section, Imlazi, and thinking about a future for myself. So it's about like continue dreaming, do it. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Just step forward. The path will determine itself sometimes along the way. and be brave
And audacious.
and audacious. Be audacious. Go for what it is that you really really want, and yeah, put your hand up and don't
Yeah.
be scared of failure. I'm very self-critical as a person, so
Yeah.
I struggle a lot with my internal dialogue, and it's something that I've learned to regulate and also identify before I let it get too far. So it's
Yeah.
also about embracing failure and learning
Yes.
opportunities, embracing embarrassing moments
Yeah.
and taking the learning out of it, and then realizing, oh, okay, I'm actually resilient. I've got more grit
Yeah.
than I thought. So it would be go for what you want. The universe might just surprise you and deliver on that.
Absolutely. Do you have a space for one more question?
Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead.
I see Tando is asking, hi Tando Dazel, thank you for joining us. I see Tando is
Yes.
asking, what does success look like for Zama? I love this question, by the way. Thanks, Tando, for that amazing question.
Okay. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one
Yeah.
because I can't define it in one word. But I will be looking for contentment in my legacy. And so, what is it that I'm leaving behind? What's that
Hmm.
indelible mark that would be attributed to me? So, I want to continue and use my sphere of influence
Yeah.
to drive more deployment of big
Hmm.
capital, to drive significant changes in our society, stimulate new industries, and be a voice that's consulted on, big decisions that are critical for the economy, critical for the world, and critical for
Yeah.
our society. And I want to do that whilst being a present mom,
Yes.
whatever that means in the midst of juggling it all. But
Yeah.
a present mom
Yeah.
where I really give my kids the attention that they need, and finding a balance between those twos, what I would define success in the future
Yeah.
for me.
I
So yeah.
absolutely love that. Just being present and showing up in every area of life as the whole audacious woman. I absolutely love that. Zama, thank you so much for joining me for this IG chat, and thank you for staying for that extra 8 minutes.
Thank you. It
I
was
think
my pleasure.
I think everyone who has joined us, and those ladies who will still be watching the live even offline, they will learn tremendously a lot from you. I think you are definitely someone young girls can look up to, not only as a role model, but just
Thank you.
just as an example of how it can be done while you're still maintaining your intelligence, your self-respect, dignity, and class. And yeah, I think you're the perfect example of that. You're the perfect example of what it means to be an audacious woman as a mom and a businesswoman.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. And thank you for this platform. I think you're doing a great job empowering women and giving them nuggets of wisdom and inspiration in different ways. So thank you for having me, and keep up the good work.
All right, awesome. And thank you to you ladies and some gentlemen that joined us. Thank you for listening into our conversation. And I really do hope it was meaningful, purposeful, and impactful to you. From me, Elizabeth R., the Audacious Coach, will have our next IG Live next week, Monday. So it is good night from me and Zama. Good night.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.